Let's look at a program today that is free. It alleviates that bass roll-off problem that plagues a lot of onboard audio users out there. It can also help with tinnitus dramatically if you are a headphone user. And last but not least, it can give you a general overall volume boost, or it can boost those footstep frequencies in those competitive FPS games. This is Equalizer APO, and I'm going to be doing a full tutorial today with its sister program, RoomEQ. Let's get it on. Welcome back to Tech Yes City, ladies and gentlemen. Today is going to be quite a big tutorial, but a lot of it as well is going to be me explaining why, and that's a big reason, and I want to explain why, because if I don't, I'm sure there's just going to be people in the comments going, why? And so I want to avoid that. Anyway, first things first, the reason why I came into this program is because I was recently testing new motherboards on the X99 line, namely the Gigabyte UD4 when that came through. And I tested that with my other headphones and it was causing tinnitus problems. And then I tested it with my Razer car cases. And if you guys have followed me for a while, you know that my Razer car cases never caused tinnitus problems in the past. But when they started causing tinnitus problems with the UD4, I knew something was wrong with the audio solution on the motherboard itself. And so I started doing a lot more research about it. And essentially, what I came to was an interesting find in that a lot of onboard audio devices will cause a thing called impedance mismatch. And what this will actually cause your headphones to do is peak a frequency, rather exaggerate a frequency than what it's used to playing. So if we look at two different frequency response curves here from the same headphones, for instance my Fidelio L1s, we can see here that in a Fidelity they've got a frequency response curve like this for the Fidelio L1s. But if we look at the graph right next to it from a different website, Digital Versus, you can see that there's this massive spike at around 7.5K by the looks of it. And so what we've got here is the same set of headphones with two different frequency response curves. Which one should you trust? I honestly, after following Inner Fidelio for a while, I'd be trusting their graphs and their reviews because they seriously know what they're talking about when it comes to audio, and they've got the right gear to measure things. I'm not saying that Digital Versus don't have the right gear, but I'm saying in this case it looks like there's most likely a impedance mismatch here with this frequency response curve. And so a lot of people using onboard audio are probably having this problem and they're not even knowing about it. And when they're going to bed, they've got tinnitus problems because of this impedance mismatch. And today, EqualizerAPO, the first thing it can do is alleviate this problem by essentially dropping the levels around here, around 7K, or completely cutting them down, which I did, and it'll give you some relief from tinnitus. However, to test if your headphones are indeed doing this, and this is how I discovered it, I went to a website called audionotch.com, and I'll put all the links and for all the programs and all the websites I'm using today, I'll put them in the description below. But essentially what I did was I got my SPL meter, and I did a full slowly increased frequency at full volume here across all the different ways here, so you can probably hear it in the background. But essentially what it caused me to do is it caused me to find that real big spike around 7K. And it happened on this onboard audio solution, the ASRock Extreme 6. But it happened a lot more. Like, it was huge on my UD4. It was like 10 decibels above any other frequency around this 7K mark. And so what this caused is just caused my ears absolute ache until I figured it out. So I'm glad I figured this out, and I want to share this with you guys because I want you guys to take care of your ears. Anyway, once we've done that, we can. So we've done this. We've found that we maybe have a impedance mismatch on our headphones. We then will want to install EqualizerAPO, and I'll put the link in the description below for that. But just essentially just open it up, install it. I've already installed it, and once you install it, you can go to your Start menu, and when you're installing it, it will give you the option to go to Configurator. And what you want to do here with Configurator, okay, can you open for me? Okay, it's open there, it just didn't come up automatically. What you want to do here is you want to go to Speakers, or select the output that you're listening to. So for instance, I'm using my speaker out here, this output. So I will select this one, and APO will be installed on this. And then you click OK, and then you restart your computer. And so once you restart your computer, you then go down to the bottom right corner and go to playback devices. And what you have to make sure is right click here on your speakers, the one that you're using, go to properties, and then go to enhancements and make sure none of these boxes are checked. So essentially, because it's basically what this is an EQ that works pretty much on the driver level. It's really lightweight and it's really good. So once you've done that, you click OK. And now the program is ready to go, essentially. So this program's ready to work now. We can essentially head to the, just go to this PC, head to wherever it's installed. Usually it's installed in program files, C drive program files, EqualizerAPO. And I want you to open that folder. I want you to go to config and then go to config.txt. This is the main configuration file that EqualiserAPO uses. So it's a text-based equalizer. And the benefits to this is really lightweight, but there's also a disadvantage in that it's kind of hard to get your head around it, and there's a slight learning curve. But that's what I'm going to talk to you guys today. I'm going to explain the program to you so you can be using this awesome program today. And it's free. I mean, what more could you want? So what I like to do as well, I like to create a shortcut to my desktop, as you can see I've already done here, because this is the main config file. So once we're ready to go, we can open this up. And you can see here that I've got my preamp setting -6 dB. So I like to have more control of my volume. I find this setting's pretty much perfect. One thing you can do straight away with this program, if you don't have enough volume, you can just give it a 12 dB boost if you want to, although you may come into some clipping. But especially if you're listening to things that have been recorded, say 12 decibels below the limit, you can give it a 12 dB limit and you'll have louder volume essentially out of your audio. But for me, I like -6. That gives me perfect control from 0 to 100 on my onboard audio. You guys might want to give it more. For instance, if you've got the Gigabyte UD4, which is just extremely loud, then you might want to go -12 like I did when I had that, when I was using that motherboard. So essentially you can play around with the volume straight away with this setting, and it's up to you guys. That's one thing. That's the first benefit of using this program. The second here is that you can include more settings for certain situations. So we can see here I've got a rock setting that is just essentially adds a little bit more, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And we've got a Call of Duty setting here. So this is another benefit of this program. You can essentially peak those footstep frequencies so you can hear footsteps and gunfire easier. So that's a huge benefit of this program. Okay, so let's move on now to the equalization settings, which is easily the most important part of this program, and that is the filters here. So if you guys want to just copy paste my settings, you're more than welcome to, as with all my tutorials. I'll put these settings in the description below. You can just copy them if you want to, but I'm going to explain what they are. So filter 1 and 2, this is basically alleviating the bass roll-off, but in my case, this comes pre-installed with the program, by the way. But in my case, I like to give it a little bit more, so I like to give it 6 and 3. That gives it a nice little bit of low-end sub-bass and a little bit of a bass boost there, which I do really appreciate. I'm a bit of a bass lover. But I love mids the most, but I like some good bass too. Oh yeah. Anyway, we'll move on to filter, sorry, that should be filter 3 and filter 4. Anyway, filter 3 and filter 4, these are the settings here that are the ones that take away that 7K tinnitus killer. So basically this, you can copy paste this, but I like to do a high shelf. So I'll go through what these mean. PK is basically parametric. So you can set what frequency, you can set the gain, you can set the bandwidth of that frequency. So you can see here, 20 hertz, that's low end. As we start to go into 8,000, that's high end, that's treble. The gain there, 6 dB is going to give us more volume, -6 dB is going to give us less volume. Q, 1, so this is the bandwidth of the octave in the actual equalizer. Q is really wide. Q value of 1 is extremely wide. A Q value of, say, 9 is pretty sharp. And so if you guys want to do different EQ settings, you got to play around with the Q settings. And I'll put a link in the description below that goes more in depth on Q settings. But just understand that 1 is a really wide bandwidth of the frequency curve. Say, for instance, 9 is really sharp. Just remember that. So the higher you go, the more sharper it is in relation to Q. So anyway, what we've got here is high shelf, HS. So the next setting, high shelf, basically just shelves up. It goes up, shelves those frequencies up or down. As you can see here, I've done a high shelf. So after a certain frequency, it'll shelf it up. So after 6,800, what I've done here is I've made a shelf that goes down, and it'll take it down by 6 dB. And then I made another high shelf frequency, so after this 8,300, it'll go up 6 dB. So essentially I've just cut out the body of 6,800 to 8,300 by 6 decibels. There's other ways you can do this. You can do it via Q1 if you want to smooth it out more. You can do it, actually there's kind of like the two only ways you can do it. You can do it low shelf if you want to do it the opposite way, 8,300. But basically there's different kinds of EQ settings. There's shelf settings. There's the parametric one. There's also a high pass filter and a low pass filter as well, which will completely cut off the frequencies before or after those certain points. So I will put a link in the description below that goes in more in depth about the settings if you want to understand them. But hopefully this is just a basic quick how-to on these frequencies. So once we've done that, we can save that. And now we're going to look at, for instance, these include ones. So if you take this number off, you can do it a few ways. You can just misprint the file name if you don't want to have it on. I just like to do the normal way. That's put the number mark in front of the include. And so you can go to rock here, and you can see here with rock, this is my rock setting. So I had to give it a little bit of a boost there on the preamp. So I give it 3 dB boost there, and I like to do a parametric EQ at 1,000 Hertz of 3 dB. With a wide bandwidth, and just 5,500 again, 2 dB. And it just gives it a little bit more of an edge to my rock when I listen to it. I like these settings. Personally, I've just played around with them quickly, and this is what I like for rock. It sounds really cool. You guys can copy that if you want to for rock, though depending on your headphones, again, you're going to want to test these things with your headphones. Next one I wanted to talk about is COD, this one here, COD. So I've opened up a little thing here that I've done here. So basically what I did here, and I'll put these two folders in the actual video so you can hear them yourselves, but here we got COD. This is the first, once I copied some of the footage from the game, I then press play, and I boosted it at 1K. And so hopefully you can hear, and this is flat, so I'll let you guys hear it for yourselves.
Let's get to work. Let's get to work.
And so what we've got here is you can essentially copy some of your game footage, put it into an EQ like Adobe Premiere Pro, and you can analyze and sort of find out what makes the footsteps easier to hear. Grab those EQ settings, for instance 0.21 octave. We can then go to Google. I've got it here. Go to this setting. I'll put this in the description below too. You can then type this in, 0.21, calculate, and that'll give us a Q setting to whack into EqualizerAPO for COD. And so we can see here, I've got it here, COD footsteps, 1,000 Hertz, 20 dB bass, Q value of 6, and it looks like it's 6.8. And so essentially what this will do is it'll do exactly what we did in the video. Give us that real big boost to those tick, 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 those footstep sounds. So if you guys want to get an edge in your actual video games, your FPS especially, you can use this program to give you a boost to those footsteps. Okay, so that's EqualizerAPO. In a nutshell, this concludes the first half of the tutorial. Basically, it can give you more volume in certain situations. It can fix that bass roll-off that plagues a lot of onboard audio solutions, mine included. It can help reduce tinnitus dramatically, and then it can give you a boost in certain games. There's probably some other things you can do with this program. I only just got it a few weeks, or actually about a month ago, and I've been testing and playing around with it, and I really like it, but this is the basics of EqualizerAPO. Let's move on now to the second part of the tutorial, which is RoomEQ. Okay, so RoomEQ, this is a program that you'll have to go to a forum and register for if you want to download it. It's optional. It is a little bit difficult to use. And before we get into this part of the tutorial, I will say that you will want to have good gear if you want to get good frequency response curves out of this program. See here, I'm only using a Shure SM58. And so the frequency response curve I get out of this mic might be different because this might not be an actual fully flat mic. Who knows, right? So essentially, and I know because I've got the dB meter here and I actually tested it and it gave me different results. So if you want to get a frequency response curve out of RoomEQ, then you're going to measure it with the mic, and you're going to use your headphones to put the volume into the mic and do a sweep, and that'll give you a frequency response curve. Then you can edit the EQ in RoomEQ and then export it as a text file. So let's go into that. This will be the second half of this tutorial. Quite long, I know, but I hope you guys enjoy it. So this is RoomEQ. Basically, as soon as you've installed it and opened it, it'll look like this. Now, first thing you want to do is, if you're going to use this program to equalize your onboard audio, you'll want to turn off all your filters that you've enabled in EqualizerAPO. Basically, you want your onboard audio to be flat, right? Because what we're doing with the first thing, or I'm showing, the first thing you can do with RoomEQ, or the first thing I'm going to show you, is that you can check your onboard audio, actually what's coming out of the DAC. And so what we've got here is go to right click on preferences up the top right corner, and then set your output device and input device to whatever's going to measure it. So basically connect your speaker cable from your headphones and then plug it into your line in. And basically what this program's going to do is it's going to measure the actual onboard audio itself. And so once we've done this, we can then set our volume levels and then set our line in. So I just leave mine at 66, basically. That's fine. For this test, I left my output volume at 66, and I actually turned my, sorry, this is the wrong one. This is microphone. I've actually got to go to line in and change that to 100. So that's at 100, and my output volume's at 66. So once we've done that, we've checked the settings, we can go back to preferences, and we go to next. And we want to make sure all these levels here are the same. So keep changing your volumes around. So you've plugged your output, your headphone out to your line in directly, as I showed in the photo before. All these levels are the same. Click next. And basically what this will do is this will measure your onboard audio. And as we can see here, you can see straight away, it's just done the measurement there. This is what the Realtek onboard audio solution essentially plays before it even reaches our headphones, before it even gets converted into, well, it's actually an analog signal, but this is the analog signal it's giving to our headphones essentially. And as you can see here, there's that bass roll-off. If you look there before 50 hertz, there's that roll-off. And that's, I mean, it's a lot better, I'm going to say, with the Realtek 1150. Over at 20 kilohertz, we can see the roll-off there. That's not such a problem since I don't know any ears. Well, my ears, I can hear up until 19 kilohertz, and I'm pretty insensitive to those frequencies anyhow. But yeah, you know, basically golden ears might want to drop it up to 96 kilohertz. But even then, so you can see here that it starts to roll off up to 20k, that's normal. But what we're worried about here is that 50 hertz, that pre-roll off there. So that's, I mean, essentially that's a problem. But this is what EqualizerAPO essentially fixes. When we turn on our filters, right, we're just going to turn on our bass filters here. I'll also enable my usual filters so you can see what's going on. But essentially we're going to remeasure. This now. So we've put our filters on, and we're going to recalibrate the device, or recalibrate the onboard audio. And we're going to see what we get this time around. So I've applied my filters, and I just want to show you what Equalizer does and how it alleviates the onboard audio, the bass roll-off anyway. So what we can see here is a dramatically different result now. As you can see here, this is essentially what's coming out to my headphones now. And this is how I like using my headphones every day now, because that drop there, as you can see here, straight away, we can see there's a nice big bass boost there. I love that. We've also got, so you can see here, the bass roll-off's practically non-existent now. It's actually quite the contrary. And so we've got more bass this time around. And over to the right here, we've got less, you know, that drop there to edge off those frequencies. So just comparing it to the standard, this is my adjusted settings in EqualizerAPO as opposed to the standard there. So the bass roll-off's pretty much completely fixed, which is great. And then we're fixing those harsh frequencies caused by that impedance mismatch. So this for me is essential now that I started using EqualizerAPO. I absolutely love it. And for me, it's essential. And so I can't not use this program anymore. Now I know what it does. So I recommend you guys get a little bit of that bass boost there from EqualizerAPO at the very least to alleviate that bass roll-off that's caused with the standard onboard audio solution. So this is just the first thing that RoomEQ can do. One of the basic things and one of the basic reasons for showing you the first half of this video, because once I analyzed it, I was kind of like, yeah, well, Now I understand what people are talking about with bass roll-off completely, because I measured it myself, and this is the results it's giving me here. So anyway, let's move on now to the second half of this tutorial, where we will be showing you how to EQ your headphones with RoomEQ. You've probably seen all these fancy graphs, people showing you how to do it, but they don't go in depth on how to do it. And so what I'm going to talk about is how to go in depth and how to use RoomEQ to EQ your headphones. So this is the second part of the tutorial, where we're going to use our microphone to get an equalization curve of our headphones, and then we're going to edit it in RoomEQ. So again, like the first part, we turn off all our filters here, connect our headphone out to our line in, and then once we've done that, we can then go to SPL meter, click here on the SPL meter setting, and then we can go to calibrate. And basically what we want to do is we want to calibrate our listening level to our microphone that's recording. And so we can just use the REW speaker signal there, have our headphones right up to the microphone, or wherever pretend the microphone's your ear. Essentially, that's what you're going to be doing. Pretend that microphone that you're recording it with is your ear. And then you match it. And I do suggest normal listening levels as well, what you usually listen to music at. So those volume settings as well. I would suggest around there. But once we've matched the SPL meter there, we can do a frequency sweep. And so go up to measure. So you click on measure there. After you've done with SPL meter, click up at the top left corner, measure. Starting frequency 50 Hertz is fine. End frequency 18 kilohertz. That's fine as well. For our levels, level at dB frequency sweep is fine there of -12. 1M, that's the longest sweep. And then I usually do 2 sweeps, even the more the better. I mean, just for this tutorial, I'll just do 1 sweep. So essentially that's just one time it's going to play all those frequencies through. I do suggest doing it a few times. And now while you're doing this, you will want to be very careful. Not move anything. If you move your headphones, that'll change the way the frequency comes out of these headphones. Because essentially, right, if you're putting a headphone on your ear, and you move your headphones around, right, what happens, right? The sound coming out sounds a bit different. So it's the same thing. It's hard to get a really accurate representation of the actual frequency response curve. And so, I mean, what's hitting your ears might be different to what even a professional's using on their test dummies, right? So here I clearly stuffed up, so I'm going to do it again. But the more times you do it, the more, I guess, if you do it a lot of different times, you'll eventually get an average of what it should sound like. And now another problem with this is that, as I said, might have said before, but I'm only using an SM58. This is just a normal voice microphone. It's not a professional microphone for analyzing frequencies. And so I'm pretty sure that gear costs a bit of money. I mean, if you're using, I'd say a condenser microphone would be better. So if you've got a condenser microphone, then it would give you more of an accurate representation, I believe. But again, this is the problem I have at the moment. I can't get a fully accurate representation of the frequencies here. As you can see before, as I showed you before when I was measuring with my dB meter at around 2K, as you can see there, the 2K bump's actually bigger than the 7K bump. But when I was using my dB meter, the 7K bump was 8 dB higher than around 2K or something like that. So I'm going to trust the dB meter because that's actually the one I've got. It's actually got really good reviews, and it's been known to give out accurate results. So once we've done that, we can click Save As anyway. Save As Fidelio L1. I'm going to save that frequency response curve there. And then we're going to go up to the top right corner and go click on EQ. And essentially this is the part where you're got a graphical user interface, and this is why people like using this, because you've got a GUI. But you want to go to Equalizer, some basic settings, change that to generic, because generic settings is what EqualiserAPO uses, the actual other program that actually implements these EQ changes. The other settings, as for the other settings, speaker type, you can just leave that on full range. And as for the other settings, you don't really need to touch them, because we're just using the EQ and the graph here to equalize what we've got. So essentially, once we've done that, we can go to click on the actual EQ filters button there, and then we can click on manual. So this will bring up a range of different settings here. We click on, and we want to change all these to manual. I mean, you could leave them on auto, give that a try if you want. I know EqualizerAPO is a manual program, so personally I'm going to change them all to manual. And there's actually 20 of them. I only just showed you 10. So you want to scroll down and change all them. But what we can start doing here is go to PK, that's parametric EQ. And I'm not going to explain all the different types of EQs. That's up to you guys to do yourselves, but I'm just going to explain the program here. So you can see here, I want to drop, say, the 2200 frequency curve. Even though this frequency curve is wrong, and I know it's wrong, and I've measured it incorrectly, I'm just going to show you how you can use this program, though. Let's just get onto it. This is just a how-to anyway. So say, for instance, you had the perfect gear, and you did the EQ right, then you could then load that into here, and you could start, as you can see here, you can change the, put manual controls in there, and then change the frequencies. And as you're changing them, RoomEQ will give you a visual representation of what the new frequency curve is going to look like. So here we're dropping the gains down, we're dropping the Q values down. That'll give us a more broad, EQ, more of a broad EQ. The higher the Q value, the more sharper the EQ change will be. The lower this Q value is, the more wider it will be. So just keep that in mind. And so Octave is actually, if you're using the Octave settings as I showed you before, it's actually kind of the opposite. And so I have put a link in the description below. If you are wanting to change those values into Q values, you can do that with that changer. Anyway, let's look at here. So what we're doing is I'm just doing a quick really rough as guts. I mean, this is really rough. So it's really rough. I just want to show you how you can use this program here. Obviously, you want to take more time if you want to get a flat frequency response curve, and you'll probably want to get some good gear if you really do want to get a perfectly flat EQ out of this program. So maybe if your friend's got a good condenser microphone, say like an AT2035 or something, you could borrow that just to EQ your headphones. Then that'll give you a pretty good representation. But keep in mind though that you have to hold your headphones in the right position, and you don't want to budge. You don't want to have any external noise affecting this EQ curve. But once we've got a good EQ curve representation here, we can just change it around. As you can see, as I'm putting in these values, I'm giving certain frequencies a boost. I'm taking off levels from certain other frequencies. And you can see here, it's starting to get more flat. So the solid green line is our original EQ. The low light, the faded green, is our new EQ curve. And so I'm pretty happy with that. And just for example here, you guys might want to spend a lot more time with a lot more filters, but we can just click on Save As, and I'm going to save that as Fidelio L1. So once I'm finished with this frequency EQ here, I can just save as, and then type in Fidelio L1. Sorry for the cut, I just had to get the door. The postman was there. Anyway, let's continue. So once you're done there, you can just save it as Fidelio L1. So save it as a .rec file initially, and this will essentially, what this will do is it'll apply the settings to your EQ. So you close that down, everything's good to go now, though we don't have a text file yet. But what we do is once we're at the main menu here, we can click on File, Export, and we can click here Filter Settings as TXT. So I'll do that again. Click on File, Export, Filter Settings as a text, and you can call that Fidelio L1s or whatever your headphones are called, or whatever you want to call the file. So save that as a text file. I'm just going to call it Fidelio 1EQ, and then we can go to our desktop here, and we can just check to make sure these settings are there. So once we're on our desktop, check here, and we can see here all the settings that we applied in that EQ in RoomEQ are ready to go now. We can just copy that into config.txt, or we can rename this file config.txt if you want to do it that way. So that's it. Or we can do it, you can just put it as an include file in your config.txt if you wish to. So there's a few choices you can do with EqualizerAPO, but essentially that's all there is to it, guys. That's RoomEQ with your headphones. Let's move on now to a conclusion. So that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it a lot. If you have any questions, please leave a comment in the comment section below. And if there's anything you wish to know more about these programs, then please let me know as well, and I'll try and help you out as much as I can. Again, though, I'm not the master of both these programs. I'm just doing a basic how-to with them. I've still got a little bit to learn with them, but they're absolutely phenomenal programs, especially since they're free. And in my case, they fix my tinnitus problems, and they just gave, they give that nice boost in rock. They're good for games. They fix that bass roll-off. And I mean, it's just a phenomenal program. I'm really impressed with it, especially the EqualizerAPO. RoomEQ, that requires Java to use, and it requires a lot of time if you wish to get the right EQ settings for your headphones. But it is a powerful tool. And especially as you saw in there, I could measure the actual roll-off on the onboard audio. So it's great I'm going to be using this program more when I do motherboard reviews. I can measure crosstalk with it. I can measure the frequency response curves of the onboard audio with it as well. So a great little program there. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please give it a big thumbs up if you did like it. And I will catch you with another tech video very soon. And I'm sorry I've been gone for a week and a bit. I've just been really busy as usual. Work peaks, and then I try to get a video done for you guys when I can. And this is that time now. So I'll catch you guys with another tech video very soon. Anyway, peace out for now. Bye.